Now, Nepal celebrated 75 years of the first ascent of Mount Annapurna, which is the 10th highest peak in the world, led by French mountaineer Maurice Herzog, just 3 years after, before the first ascent of Mount Everest. How the heroic feat of climbing Mount Annapurna changed the course of mountaineering history. Here's a special report sent by our special correspondent.
Nepal marked 75 years since the first ascent of Mount Annapurna, the 10th highest peak in the world and the first 8,000-meter mountain ever climbed. On the 3rd of June 1950, French climber Maurice Herzog, along with Louis Lachenal, with the help of Nepali guide Ang Tharke Sherpa, reached the 8,091-meter summit of Annapurna without oxygen. Herzog scaled the peak but suffered severe frostbite in his hands and feet. He remained handicapped for the rest of his life and died aged 93 in 2012.
The 1950 ascent of Annapurna helped define Nepal as a prime destination for adventure tourism, and celebrating 75 years reinforces Nepal's cultural and natural heritage as a Himalayan nation. This time, in very first, Nepal celebrated this at the very base camp. Earlier, it was celebrated in Kathmandu or Pokhara. We know that this expedition that happened in 1950 was French-led, and this continues to foster diplomatic and cultural ties between French and Nepalese.
To commemorate the milestone, around 200 people, including foreign guests, journalists and mountaineers, gathered at the Annapurna base camp over 4,100 meters above sea level. Among them was the son of legendary climber Maurice Herzog and delegation from France, UK and India. To honor Herzog's legacy, a series of events were organized. A key moment included the unveiling of statues of Herzog, Lachenal and Sonam Volung Sherpa, first Nepali to scale the Annapurna. It is now installed at the base camp in Nachiang, Annapurna Rural Municipality. For the first time, a high-altitude marathon was organized in the district from Annapurna base camp as part of the Annapurna Diamond Jubilee Festival.
The 75th celebration of the first ascent of Annapurna first also includes unveiling of the statues of the people who were the first to climb the peak. It includes Maurice Herzog and his partner Louis, and also one of the first Nepali climber, Sonam Sherpa. I'm standing here at the base camp where all the three statues have been unveiled.
For making it possible for me to join you at base camp to unveil these statues. France and Nepal are going along in this friendship adventure in Annapurna since 1950, and I'm very happy that the memory is still alive and we are still enduring a long friendship since 1950. So it is a great honor, a great pride, and I come with a very honored, emotional and friendly atmosphere in the base camp with all of you. Thank you so much for sharing this moment.
In a symbolic handover, Maurice Herzog gifted his father's original 1950 ice axe to the International Mountain Museum in Pokhara, where Maurice Herzog's climbing equipment is also displayed. This gives Nepal a new identity as the world's mountain nation. It has set the stage for Nepal becoming the epicenter of high-altitude adventure tourism.
The 75th celebration of the first ascent of Annapurna 1 holds deep symbolic, historical and economic significance. The first ascent was a milestone in Nepal's tourism history. In fact, this ascent brought global attention to Nepal's Himalayas peaks way before the Everest did.
In 1950, Maurice Herzog was welcomed by Prime Minister Mohan Shamsher and honoured with the Order of Gorkha Dakshina Bahu for the achievement. With Mount Annapurna still largely unmapped, they faced significant challenges in finding a viable route. At the time, Annapurna had never been attempted. There were no maps, no fixed routes, and no certainty of survival. The French team spent weeks navigating the dangerous terrain. The final climb was brutal. But on that day in 1950, Herzog and Lacanal stood atop the Annapurna, carving their names into mountaineering history. Annapurna is often called the eldest of the 8,000-meter peaks, as it was the first ever to be summited. Yet it remains one of the most dangerous climbs in the world, with a higher death rate than ever. The Annapurna Ascent opened a new chapter in Himalayan exploration, and 75 years later, its legacy continues to inspire.